Hare Krishna, everyone. Here we are again with our Bhagavad Gita reading. I hope you find these readings helpful, constructive in these times of difficulty that we're experiencing globally. I know I'm not even addressing just someone in some specific locality, but this is applying to wherever you may be all over the world, from China to the United States or here in Hungary. I'm going to read just the 62nd and 63rd verses from the second chapter. And you notice that the second chapter is one that we've chosen a few verses from. One good reason for that is that because it is entitled The Summary of the Bhagavad Gita, it really summarizes the contents of the Gita. What is its fundamental philosophy? What is its goal? And how do we attain that goal? What is the yoga or the practice for the attainment of that particular goal? I'm not going to just sort of spoil that. This is not a spoiler. I'll let you know those things. That will come bit by bit. But this is a very interesting two verses, and because of its length, I'm just going to read the English translation. Oh, let me do the first one. And it reads, the Sanskrit reads like this. Jayato Vishayan Pumsa Sangasteshu Pajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kama Kamat Krodha Vijayate. And the translations to this one and the next one is, while contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment from them, and from such attachment, lust develops, and from lust, anger arises. From anger, complete delusion arises, and from delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost, and when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool. I've heard comments from different students and followers that they feel really bewildered by this situation. They don't know where to turn left and right. Everywhere is full of danger. But here, Krishna, through the Bhagavad Gita, is telling us, well, we really need to look at what our priorities are in terms of where we're going in life. Is our life all about, just like it states here, contemplating sense objects? Are we just scanning this world to see what's the latest object of enjoyment for our senses, for our mind? Or are we really in pursuit of self-realization, in which case our vision isn't really turned externally, but it's turned internally? Now, this verse talks about those who would answer, well, I spend all my time looking at the world around me and thinking how I can become happier and happier and happier, which is a futile effort, because happiness is something that is an internal affair. Just the very nature of happiness itself, we know that it comes from within. It's an experience that comes from within. It isn't by contacting a certain object, but it's whatever that object awakens within us and inspires within us. So here, the Gita says, all right, but if you're spending your time just always looking at the world and meditating, and this is a meditation, I'm meditating on sense objects. Either we meditate on sense objects or we meditate on self-realization. So if I'm meditating on sense objects, what happens? We become attached. That's the whole idea of advertisement. See it enough, you become attached to it, and what happens after? Then he says, and from attachment, lust arises. So once you become attached to something, lust here means not lust in its sort of grossest sense of sensual interaction or sexual interaction, but lust meaning I have to have it. Because I became attached to something, now I have to have it. And now two things can happen. Either you don't get it, and many people in this world don't get the things that they want. Either you don't get it, or you get it, and eventually you lose it. Or eventually the happiness that it gave you wears off. I thought that this partner, this spouse, is someone who I'm going to spend my whole life with, but it turned out that all we did was just quarrel, and we divorced in a certain period of time. From lust comes anger. So this is why people become angry, because what do we use? I'm angry because I'm frustrated. Well, why are you frustrated? Because my fulfillment is frustrated. What I thought was going to give me fulfillment has now been frustrated, and so I'm angry. And then what happens? And you notice this is a process of degradation. Instead of elevation, which is what yoga is about, connecting and rising up, purifying our consciousness, this is a degradation. This is about us going down. From anger, what happens? Delusion arises. We become deluded. You have to admit, everyone gets angry sometime or another. So what happens when you get angry? You start to flush, you slur your words, you get lost to properly express yourself. So you become deluded, and sometimes you do the wrong thing. Something is very frustrating. Who knows? My telephone is just giving me so much problems, and I smash it on the floor. Well, that didn't really solve your problem of a dysfunctional telephone, because now not only do you not have a dysfunctional telephone, you have no telephone at all. So you become deluded. And what happens when you become deluded? Then bewilderment of memory. My memory, who am I? What am I really trying to do? What is the purpose of it all? And why did I really want that thing in the first place? It all becomes very cloudy. And when we become bewildered, then we lose our good intelligence. Intelligence is what controls the mind. The mind is what controls the senses. We're completely lost when our intelligence is gone. And when intelligence is lost, what happens? Then we become completely degraded. People do things that they would never otherwise do, just because the circumstances are such, and the sequence of degradation, going down the ladder instead of going up the ladder of yoga. Now I'm going down, and ultimately I perpetrate so many extraordinary things that otherwise I wouldn't do. So one more time, I'm just going to go over the sequence. If you want to become free from delusion, if we want to be free from all the confusion that the world around us is imposing upon us and that we find ourselves in today, then we need to see, well, don't have unnecessary expectations from this world. Try to get what you need and leave it at that. Spend the balance of our time with internal development and not with just, I need more, I need more, I need more. We call it economic development, or we call it that our GDP is growing, and we have to have a constantly increasing lifestyle. These are the sort of illusions or the traps of the materialistic world that we live in. And if we live like that, this is what's going to happen. Contemplate sense objects, we develop attachment. From attachment comes strong attachment, possessiveness, lust. When that becomes frustrated in due course, and it does, comes anger. From anger, one becomes completely deluded. Who am I? What am I supposed to do? In that state, I forget all good things. I forget law, I forget right from wrong, and that condition one loses one's intelligence. Any higher direction is completely lost, and one becomes a slave to one's environment, to others, to one's senses, and that's not the type of life that we want to live. That's not the position we want to be in. We don't want to be a slave. We want to be a master. In Sanskrit, we don't want to be a Godas. We want to be a Goswami or a Swami. Swami means master of the senses. So this is today's lesson in the Bhagavad Gita. When we learn how to master our senses, control our mind and our senses, that is the basic qualification for practicing yoga and for being a yogi.